Well, you find one class you like, you find a spec that you like, and you stick with it. So all of your setup is the same.
It's kind of like when you're single and you're dating more than one woman at a time. It's good to get them all with the same name. That way you don't call one by the wrong name.
You've always got to make it simple, and I've always got to make things more complicated.
You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast with Dex and Mac. I got mouths to feed, so let's get this thing started. Time is money, friend.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Azeroth. You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast, your guide to making gold in World of Warcraft. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Dex, coming to you from Napa, California. With me on Skype is my co-host, Mac, from Anchorage, Alaska, where the men are men and the moose are nervous. How you doing, Mac?
Hey, fantastic. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, not bad, not bad. So, you staying warm out there in the frigid north?
Oh, my gosh. I wish we had air conditioning up here right now. It's been in the 80s this last week or so, which for here is, at least in Anchorage, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I know a lot of people think that you guys live in igloos all year long. They don't understand that, yes, you actually have a summer.
We do, and the houses are really, really well insulated, and apparently nobody believes that the places need to be air conditioned, so when it does get warm outside, it really, really gets warm inside.
There's something a little weird about having to travel south to Canada. It just sounds wrong.
Well, you know.
So anyway, let me go over our topics for this week. The first topic, we want to talk about the Legion pre-patch and kind of our first impressions of that and what we found. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about Recruit a Friend and how to use that to make gold and to create an alt army. Anyway, speaking of first impressions of Legion, how was your week?
I've got a headache, and I know you've probably got one much worse than me. I've got a very small amount of alts compared to you, and I've got only about a quarter of them set up with new abilities, new talents, had to rechange and remap new hotkeys. I mean, it's been a real pain in the... Anyways.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I mean, some of the things are kind of cool. The survival hunter is kind of neat. I haven't tried it out, but I think I may actually have to do that without with the non-range ability on him.
It looks interesting. I saw a video on that actually yesterday. I think it was. It might have been today. I think it was yesterday. I saw something, and it's odd. It's odd not to have a bow or a gun. It had some interesting things about it that might be worth giving a try. But yeah, I feel your pain on setting up the characters.
Yeah, probably much worse than mine. It's funny the people who weren't prepared for it, because I general chat, trade chat, guild chat. What happened to my character? I can't play it. It's not playable anymore.
Right. No, I know. A lot of complaining.
For me, it's just like finding another way to make gold. I mean, it's another challenge. You step up to it, and I mean, I haven't found anything that makes the game unplayable. So, well.
Well, come on, you're thinking of something. What made it unplayable?
Oh no, it's just there's when the patch first came live, there were several times I know you ran into the same thing where we would enter a zone and no mobs, no players. Right.
Yeah, no, there was that what's it called, Hargara's something or other. It's in Wrath of the Lich King off of the Argent tournament. I'm finishing up a couple of the mounts out there, trying to move my way to 250. That's my goal, and I finally hit 179 this week. But anyway, when you're heading over there to do some of the dailies over there to get the champions seals, the zone is not populated. There are no mobs there, so you couldn't complete any of the quests that were showing up there. And I bugged it. A lot of people bugged it, and today it was fixed. So very, very happy about that. You might say that it was a little daunting to not have anything work. Classes changed so much. I was not prepared. It was true in this case. I definitely was not, and so struggling with it. Doing a little bit better today, actually. Now that we've got a couple of days that the patch has been out. It's a lot to do. I've got my hunters set up now. I figured out their rotations, and I've got the talents and everything set up. I've got my Death Knights done, Paladins, and I got my Druid done. But it's a lot of characters left to do.
Oh yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, you normally when you find one class you like, you find a spec that you like, and you stick with it. So all of your setup is the same.
Right.
And me like an idiot, I've got all sorts of different specs on different zone or different servers.
Right.
So it's like trying to go back in there, and it's like, oh my god, now I got to learn how to do this one. Thank God for Icy Veins. If that site wasn't up, I'd still be out there trying to figure everything out.
Oh, absolutely, and yeah, like so. I have 3 level 100 hunters. They all have the same Beastmaster spec, and I'm Frost on all 4 Death Knights that I have that are 100. So yeah, I keep it pretty uniform. That way, I don't mess up. Otherwise, going from character to character, you forget which one you're on. It can be ugly.
I've had that happen jumping on the wrong mount before jumping off a cliff, and yeah.
It's kind of like I have to say it's kind of like I mean, I'm married. I've been married for a long time. I know you just celebrated 21, 22 years.
20 years, yeah.
20. This was the 20. Why did I think it was more than that? Anyway, so we've both been married for a long time, but it's kind of like when you're single and you're dating more than one woman at a time. It's good to get them all with the same name. That way you don't call one by the wrong name. Same thing with the specs, keeping the specs all the same.
There we go. You've always got to make it simple, and I've always got to make things more complicated.
Yeah, well, it's I found that with making gold, it's easier to find a way to make gold and then replicate it, rather than find a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, you want to find different ways, you want to diversify, but if you find something that works, replicating it can really pay dividends for you.
Oh, correct.
Our first topic here, we're kind of talking about kind of our first impressions, and we've touched on that a little bit for our first impressions of, oh my God, what happened to my class? But other than that, before we get into all of that, I know you've been this week continuing the battle over there at Half Hill. Why don't you fill us in on what you found this week?
Well, again, I decided to go over to Half Hill, revisit that zone over there, and work on the farm, because I'm trying to make living steel, and with Riddless steel, I can make a bunch of living steel with the spirits spirits of harmony and trillium. Right. I can transmute ghost iron bars into trillium. Trillium veins, I have a real hard time finding them, and rather than hunting them down, I can go in, and in 3 minutes I can completely set up that farm out there, right, plant them, and then come back once a day. And if I do that on 10 tunes a day, I spent 30 minutes out there. So it's not that bad. I have had, since the patch, there's been one bug. Once you clear the big, there's a mossy boulder out there, then right, you can get that 16 plot farm, and they make this Earth Smasher plow, which allows you to plow four of the mounds of dirt at one time, and you operate that plow now, and it mows through 4 mounds of dirt, but it doesn't till the soil. So it does take a little more time now. I mean, it's maybe an extra half a minute or so for the whole thing, because you've got to go and till each one individually. Again, once you've got one person up to Revered, you can get the grand commendation of the tillers, which allows every tune on that account, your BattleNet account, to receive double experience out there. So it's pretty easy within about 5 to 6 days, once you have one person at Revered, right, to be able to get yourself up to Exalted and be able to get that 16 plot farm out there. Another bug I found is there's when you plant the plants, there's one thing called the encroaching weed, which you jump on like a mount and then have to pull the weed out, and right, that bugs every once in a while, and you have to use the leave vehicle command and then pop back on. Stubborn the irrigation system and the pest repellent. Those are working fine. And right now, I've got about 10 characters out doing the song bells and the snake roots for Ghost Iron and Trillium and the motes of harmony. And
so I not to interrupt, but so I heard you right on that. You've actually got 10 characters all doing that.
I've got 10 characters doing that. I've got them not on every server. I got about 5 on one server and 5 on another server, and I'm trying to get another 4 or 5 set up.
I mean, that's bringing a little bit of a tear to my eye. I mean, I'm so proud. proud.
I know.
I mean, wow, that's awesome. That's
my small alt army.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's going to work well for you because, I mean, let's face it, potions of luck becoming not so lucky now and graying out. I mean, that's your major way to get Trillium and Motes of Harmony both. Anybody who's tried to mine Trillium, you know that it's a waste of time to go out and try to find Trillium. I mean, you're going to find Ghost Iron, and very rarely you're going to find some Trillium. So your options are what you're doing on Half Hill or what I'm doing, which is farming the hell out of Ghost Iron. Trying to get other people to farm it for me is preferred, and buying it, but that's not always possible. And then transmuting the Ghost Iron to Trillium, and then transmuting that to the Living Steel. Yeah, trying to do 2 of those per month, to the Sky Golems per month. And so yeah, it's difficult. I'm gonna have to investigate your way of doing it. But right now, I just don't have the time with everything else I'm hunting up.
Right. Like I said, I'm still checking to see if it's going to be viable in the long run. But it's looking like once I get everything up and running completely with a few more characters, like I said, with 10 right now, I'm pretty happy with it. But I'm going to see what happens when I get a couple more.
Okay. Well, I wanted to go through a few other things here, and we can talk about some of the things that we were surprised by with the patch. We tried to stay up on things, but in our last podcast, we announced where things were in beta right after we recorded our podcast, and actually before it got uploaded, because there was a little bit of a delay when it got uploaded. Right after that, a few things changed, and one of the things, though, that was not reported until the actual, I don't think there was any kind of indication this was going to happen until the actual patch hit. And in the patch notes, we found out that originally they were going to nerf the gold drops from all the raids, the Cata raids, the Mist of Pandaria raids, and the Wrath of the Lich King raids. All of them were going to get nerfed. And what ended up happening was they normalized them. So what they did was Cata raids saw a decrease in the amount of gold that you would get from them. Wrath of the Lich King and Mist of Pandaria got buffed. So that was awesome. That it wasn't all bad news. So what I found out looking into this, on the 25-man heroic, the bosses used to drop 125 gold per boss.
Right.
Now they're dropping 70 on that. And the vendor, the drops that you vendor, your epics that drop there that you take to the vendor are also a big part of the gold that you make in there. They've seen a reduction of about 25% is how much they've been nerfed down. So they actually got nerfed down less than what I was thinking they would in practice. Wrath of the Lich King, it looks like pretty much, and we're talking about on normal now. On normal on Wrath of the Lich King, it looks like all of the bosses are dropping 30 gold. And on heroic, it's currently bugged right now. It looks like the heroic Wrath of the Lich King raid bosses are still on the old drop table. It appears that way, but I figure that these are bugs that they're gonna iron out in the next couple of days. They've been fixing a lot of things. Mist of Pandaria, I haven't gone and done any of those. It looks like though that they are, from what I was able to see from other sources online, people are reporting that it's like I think it's 50 or 56 gold per on heroic, I believe. So there's kind of a good news, bad news thing on that one.
Right. Well, hats off to the people that have been testing that. I was having a hard enough time just getting my characters set back up to be able to even try to test some of this stuff, and I'm just getting to the point where I can personally test some of it.
I think some people were more on top of that than we were. I didn't get into beta, and I know you didn't get into beta until very recently, just last week. And so people that have been in beta for a while, that have seen this coming, they already know what talents they were getting. They were already all prepared for all that. And it was reported by enough people. I could have been more prepared, but I was concentrating the time that I did have on gold making areas. And I kind of regret it. I wish I'd been more prepared so that I had everything ready to go.
Right. And one of the other things we announced during last week's podcast was the garrison resources for mats, the trader building. It was originally stated that those were going to be doubled. They actually quadrupled in price. So the 4 went to 16, and the upper end is what, 32 now?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's higher. It's higher than that. It's the upper end is it 40? I think now.
Holy moly!
Yeah, because it was 10. They were 10 at the high end before, and so now they're 40.
There we go.
They doubled it, and then they doubled it again. The cost for.
Sorry, I was trying to do this with Common Core math.
Yeah, yeah, that's that won't work. So. So that was, and then in addition to that, let's see.
The reset timer is now at 8 a.m.
Right.
Versus, what was it before? It was 3 a.m. Pacific time, 2 a.m. It was 2 a.m. my time up here, but 3 a.m. Pacific. So now it's 8 a.m.
Right. So they moved it 5 hours later than it was before. And a lot of people are happy about that.
I'm stoked. I work nights. I don't get home till midnight, so I can stay up usually till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and on patch nights I usually get hosed about halfway through my play night. So,
right. It's I myself, because I get on a lot of times when you get in. I'm exhausted, but by that time of the night. But I try to play for a little while, and sometimes when I leave things to the last minute. Reset hits in the middle of me doing daily chores and things. I have to say I am so relieved that the garrison chores are gone.
Right.
Now I still pop on the garrison, like we talked about keeping the garrison viable. We talked about that last week. I
was about to say the crates of salvage. Those apparently are just given resources now. Last time we were talking about it, we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with them.
Yeah, I guess it's something like what I saw was like 15 resources or some inconsequential amount. But I am so glad to see the bulk of the chores go away, because I pop on and I do my combines, my alchemy, my tailoring combines, and that's all I do and I run the mission table to get the garrison resources, but I mean it's real quick. I'm in with one tune and out in just a matter of seconds, and then a couple times a week I can go and I can refill the buildings so that they keep stocked, the small buildings for producing there. But now we're talking about changes. Something else that I noticed, and there are two things here that kind of work hand in hand. I'm running around mining because I needed to get some ghost iron ore so I could make my trillium and so forth. I popped a mining node. I had another character right there, and I noticed that it didn't vanish. And I tested it. I didn't think that was going live with this patch, but multi-tapping mining nodes and presumably herb nodes. This is something that was discovered right before we recorded, so I haven't had a chance to fully look into it. But that went live already, and it's retroactive to older zones. I was in Mistapend area doing it, and it worked. And that's good news. I thought it was only going to apply, and maybe I misunderstood when it was explained, but I thought it was only going to be on the new resources in Legion. But it's on everything, and that's awesome. And I am right now working on ways to make best use of that with an alt army.
Oh yeah, two-seater mounts. I need one. I need one. I need one. For flying around. If you're, getting rare ores like Corey. If you could get two people up there, two characters, boom, boom, and some of the rare stuff that costs a lot. Boy.
Yeah, but I have to say though, having you, I know you said that about like the rare ores, but on something like Ghost Iron, I have to say, when I'm on my Druid in flight form, zipping around from node to node, if I was on a two-seater mount and I was alt-tabbing between two characters and remounting and heading to the next one, I'm quite certain that with my Druid, I could mine 3 times as fast as that, and so getting twice the ore would put me at a loss. Unfortunately.
Right.
The other thing that goes hand in hand with the mining nodes, being able to multi-tap those, is the mob tapping went into place too. And some people may not be aware of that's with this patch. So if you're on a quest and somebody hits something and they hit it before you, mob that you need, you can still hit it. But one of the things that I discovered when I was doing my Argent tournament dailies today seemed like that the loot was dropping for both characters. Now you have personal loot now. You don't choose free for all or round robin or any of that under loot types if you're the group leader now. It's just free. It's just personal loot is the automatic setting. Because first thing I do is I set it to that because I put one character on follow. Obviously, I'm not gonna be tabbing back and forth between them while I'm running these guys through. But what I found out by accident when I went to loot with the wrong character was that it seemed like the loot was being duplicated for both characters, which that has huge potential. I don't think it was supposed to be that way if you're within the same group. Maybe it was. Maybe it was always supposed to be that way.
We'll have to test that out this week. One of the irritating things about the double tapping the nodes is when you have a couple of characters and they come up, they tap the same node. It's about 10 seconds before the node goes away.
Right.
And I do have 1 or 2 characters that I do run through the mine in my garrison. One thing that's irritating about that is I'll run through, I'll mine something in my garrison, run around the corner, and it'll look like I've left a node behind, and I'll run back to go, and it's gone. And
right.
that ghosting of the node on your little mini map is from that double tap. So that I can live with it, but it is something that is a little irritating.
I think it's a necessary evil, and I'll tell you why. It appears like the way they set that up was up to 5 people can tap the same node or tap the same mob. And it's the same mechanic for both, I believe, for whether you're talking about nodes or you're talking about mobs. The multi-tapping, I think, is I think it's same code or whatever that does that. But they also put in the mechanic of it'll disappear after 10 seconds. So it looks like it's 5 people tapping the node or 10 seconds, whichever comes first. And the reason why that's a necessary evil is for skinners. Because now skinners got an AoE skinning, which they gotta love. But the problem is, if you have mobs that can be tapped by multiple people, you have to have a timeout on that. You have to have a time that to where that time is expired, and for looting, really for looting purposes, you have to have a time period that expires. So 10 seconds seems fair. And then that way, skinners aren't waiting around forever before they can skin the mob that they killed when there's nobody else around.
Right, no.
Otherwise, skinning would be really painful. And I know they were really worried about that during the beta, and there was a lot of discussion about it. So yeah, I think that's I think it's understandable. I know you had struggles with that today, but
I can live with it, but after we talked about you discovering that was live, it was like, oh, that's what's causing these things to ghost on my screen for a little bit.
Right.
So.
The last thing on my list that I have here, I think we've covered everything else. Something that's coming that's not quite here yet. It's the invasions that we're going to have. And I wanted to give people a heads up because I expect these to be in full swing before our 3rd episode comes out. And this way you can kind of watch for it. there are going to be these invasions that pop up in the in some of the major cities. So it might pop up outside Stormwind or Orgrimmar or something like that. What's going to happen is you get these mobs that'll spawn. There'll be the trash mobs first, and then you'll have mini bosses, and then finally the bosses, and it goes through a series of waves. And after you get through the final wave, you are going to get you have a possibility of a drop that's about I think about a 715 item level drop, I think is what it's going to drop, which is going to be good for gearing up your tunes that aren't quite there on gear level. It also has a chance that it will drop a bind on equip piece of gear, and if that happens, that's cha-ching time. You take that to the auction house and make your gold, because they're going to sell for a lot. But the main thing I wanted to talk about on that is when you complete, you're going to get these items called nether shards. When you complete one of the events, you get about 50 of those. The thing that you want to buy with those, you can buy different things from the vendor there. But the thing that I want to talk about for gold making is the Fellbat pup. And it's a pet that is a tradable pet that is only going to be available during this event. So when Legion launches, this is gone. And it'll be like Hate Spark the Tiny that you can't get anymore because the event is over with. And so what I'm recommending is that you purchase that with the nether shards that you get. You get about 50 per event, and it takes 150 nether shards for this thing. Let's see, like you were talking about with Common Core math, that's 4 that you have to do. But I'm old school, so my old school math says 3. But so 3 of those events to get the pet. You're going to want to, if you have an alt army, you're going to want to log on with multiple tunes to farm 3 on one, and then 3 on another, and then 3 on another. And the reason why, there's apparently going to be diminishing returns. So if you do like 7, 8, 9 of them in a row in the same area, I think you start to get less of the shards, or you stop getting shards entirely. I'm getting reports both ways, but I'm not sure which from beta. At any rate, you want to farm up as many of those as you can get and put them in your bank and wait. Wait several months because in the beginning, a lot of people are going to have them. But because you can buy gear also with these nether shards, a lot of people are going to be gearing up and ignoring the pet. And a lot of people won't realize, and they'll think, oh, I can always get the pet later, and they won't realize it's going away. So the rarity of that later, this is something you guys are going to want to go out there, you're going to want to farm this, and you're going to want to hold on to it. And I'm going to say, this is like one of those things, hey, it's Christmas time, let me bring these things out. People are going to want them. They've been gone from the game, for a while, and now it's got some good value. So that's my thought on that. What's your thought, Matt?
Well, I think getting an alt army is the way to be able to do things like that, and I think that's going to go into the second part of our discussion for today.
Yeah, absolutely. And our second topic is using the Recruit a Friend feature to build an alt army and make passive gold with the alt army. And the ways that you can make gold with this, before I talk about how to do this, let me just talk about the advantages a little bit, because this is something that I've certainly done a lot. I hate when people ask me how many alts I have, because I have no idea. I have 2 main accounts that I run that I keep subscribed all the time, and then I have rotating Recruit a Friend accounts that come and go. But of the 2 main accounts, you can have a maximum of 50 tunes, and I think I'm pretty close to that at all times on both. So that's kind of the answer there. But I like it for a lot of things, not just gold making. If there's a mount that I want, and it's in a raid, or it's in a heroic dungeon that you can do once per day, or like I said, the raid where you can do once per week, I can do it as many times as I want, because I just park all my tunes outside of there and take them one at a time through and do it. And again, this is another reason why we talked about before, where I do the same spec on if I have a class, like say I've got a hunter, they're all Beastmasters, because I want to keep it all uniform so that I can run through and without a hiccup.
Right, right.
So at any rate, when you have the alt army, you can do a lot of things with it. I have a lot of alchemists, a lot of tailors, so hex weave bags like crazy, and alchemists have a lot of very valuable daily cooldowns. You have to kind of choose which one that you want to do, but a lot of gold to be made that way with daily cooldowns. So to cover a little bit about how it works with Recruit a Friend, you get triple experience while the characters are grouped together and they're within range of each other. I think it's like 100 yards, within 100 yards of each other. They get triple experience for everything, killing mobs, completing quests, what have you.
Yeah, just in case you're not aware of it, Blizzard has no problem with you using yourself to recruit yourself for Recruit a Friend.
Right. They're completely aware of it, and they don't have an issue with it. But the triple experience, I want to talk about first of all how that works, and then I'll get on to the rest of it. With triple experience, what a lot of people don't know, the limitations on that and the things that you can do. It will tell you in the instructions that you have to be on the same realm. You do not. I don't know if this is intended or not, but you do not have to be on the same realm. You have to be the same faction, but you can be grouped with another character on a connected realm or even cross realm and get triple. I've done it. I've done it many times. This is one of the ways that I build up alt armies on other servers. This is not something that's widely known, I don't think, because I don't see people talking about it anywhere. And it's certainly not that way in the information that you get. Now, having said that, the other things that you get as bonus is being able to summon the other character, summon each other, and granting levels. That's only on the same realm. So if you're doing cross realm, you're not going to be able to summon to your location back and forth, which is one of the other perks. And when you get to the point to where it's time to start granting those free levels that you get for doing Recruit a Friend, they have to be in the same group. I mean, it's in the same realm. And that's the only way that works.
Connected realms, that work?
Yes. No, not for granting. For granting. No. So, for instance, I have a lot of characters on Demon Soul. And I have a lot of characters on Coil Fang, and they are connected realms. They can group together to get the triple experience, but the granting doesn't work across that.
Okay.
And neither does the summoning. The summoning sometimes will work. It's kind of buggy. I can get it to work once in a while, but as a rule, no, it does not work on connected realms. When you're talking about maximizing your alt army, you can have, on your account, you can have 50 characters on your account is the maximum. And as of the pre-patch that just came out, you can have up to 12 characters per realm. They gave us an extra character slot for Demon Hunters when they come out. Now, on Demon Soul is one of 5 connected realms that are all together. So what you can actually do there, if you wanted all your characters to be able to interact and use the same auction house and so forth, and you were in that little cluster of realms, you could have all 50 of your characters all there together, same realm, same faction, all working together and working as a team. And that's a huge advantage. So planning that in advance, how you want your alt army to work, understanding that when you get 50 characters, you're done. You can't have any more than that on your account. Then you have to have more accounts.
That's not on the Battle.net. That's just per account on Battle.net, right?
Right. That's per account on your Battle.net.
And you can have 8. You can have 8 accounts per Battle.net.
Correct. You can have 8 accounts per Battle.net. And the important thing about that is on your Battle.net account, once you've bought your heirlooms, which are important to have for the Recruit a Friend, once you purchase those heirlooms, you can have them on any of your characters. I'm a little cheap about it. What I do, I've gotten a little bit better about it, but what I did before was I would get a cloth set, and I would get a cloth set all the way up to 100, the heirlooms, and I can use those on any of the characters because they're not fighting anything. They're just being power leveled through. So it doesn't matter that it's not optimal gear.
You're just using them for the experience bonus.
Right, using it for the added experience, which really adds up. So So that's in a nutshell basically how that all works. When you're setting up your alts, what you need, we talked about the heirloom gear. You want to make sure that you've gotten set up a follow hotkey, basic things like that you normally do. Make sure you have that because you want to be able to have the characters follow along real easily. I do the quest auto accept add-on, which is important when you're going through and you're doing dungeons. You're grabbing the quests and it makes it a bit faster. Also, for the beginning part, you're in the newbie zone until you're level 10, so you're doing a bunch of quests there too, and it makes that go faster. There is a way to maximize it. As you know, you go up to level 90. That's where Recruit a Friend ends. At level 90, you have 44 levels that you can grant to the account that referred you. One of the ways that you can maximize that, I'm gonna touch on it a little bit because the movie recently that came out, the Warcraft movie, made this a little easier. If you have 3 accounts that you refer, so you've got a group of 5. So one of your characters is a power leveling character that's a level 100, say, that's running you through. I like the Arcane Mage is fast with Arcane Explosion running through dungeons. So you've got one there. You've got the account that did the referring, and then 3 referred accounts for a total of 5. And what happens with that is instead of just having when you reach 90, instead of just having the 44 levels, you've got 132 levels that you can grant in the same amount of time because you put them all on follow and you run them through the dungeons. Now, if you're paying $20 a pop for your battle chest, you're not going to do that. But my wife and I took our 3 kids to see the Warcraft movie, and I've got 5 accounts or 5 free accounts that I have to use by August 1st. So if you guys have those and you weren't planning on using them, this is a way you can use it to make a lot of gold, to set up an alt army to make a lot of gold.
Unfortunately, I brought my wife. She plays, and she won't give me her extra one, so I just have mine.
Well, your mistake was telling her that was something that was available.
Right.
You shouldn't have ever told her that it was. So, secret to a long marriage, secrecy. But anyway, if you didn't get those, if you're like Mac and you don't have access to a bunch of them from the movie, every year Thanksgiving's coming up. American Thanksgiving's coming up here, and on Black Friday they have a big weekend special every year, and they sell battle chests for $5. So for $15, instead of the normal $20 for a battle chest, for $15 you can have 3 battle chests and go through and do this. Anyway, when you first start out, you're going to your newbie zone, whatever newbie zone you decide to start in, and it's very fast to get to level 10. You just basically go through your starter quests that everybody does when they start a new character. And then level 10 to 57 is where the hard part comes in. And it might sound funny because you might think, oh, the later levels are the harder part, but it's just not true. Used to be that it was all pretty easy, but these dungeons got nerfed hard on their bonus experience. The dungeons up to all the dungeons below Hellfire Ramparts got nerfed pretty hard. And
we noticed that.
Yes.
Before we tried this on Recruit a Friend, you brought me through on a non-Recruit a Friend, helped me level up a character. With the triple experience now, after that nerf, everything under Hellfire Ramparts takes as long with triple experience as it used to without triple experience.
Right. No, it does. And it's kind of a bummer. I don't really have a way to do 10 to 57 that I've discovered that's, really much faster. I'm still looking. If anybody has any ideas and they want to give me a yell about that, I'd appreciate it. Anyway, to cover the way that you do it, after your newbie zone, you go to, if you're Horde, you would go to Ragefire Chasms. If you're Alliance, you're going to go to Dead Mines, and you're going to run through levels 10 through 21. And at level 15, the quests become available. I'm not sure on Dead Mines. I think it's about the same point, but in Ragefire, that's when you can get those. And you do the quest there. At level 21, you bug out of there and you go to Scarlet Halls. You're in Scarlet Halls from about 21 to 27. At level 26, you can do the quest. So after you've done the quest in Scarlet Halls, it's time to leave there. And then after that, you've got Scarlet Monastery is 27 to 31. Sometimes I decide to stay a little longer in Scarlet Monastery. You can do the quest at 28, but Scarlet Monastery is nice to go through and run. It's pretty quick, and I enjoy doing that one. And the next one, Razorfin Kroll, I really don't care for. And normally you're in that one from 31 to 35, but I try to be there as little as possible. It's kind of a pain in the ass, that one there. Then after Razorfin Kroll, right next door there, you go to Razorfin Downs, and that one is 35 to 45. And that one you can do the quest at 40. And you had a point about that, I believe, on that one, a little tip on that one.
That one's really nice because you can get right into the entrance. There's a little dragon at the beginning that's fighting some non-aggro mobs. You move all the characters right to that point, and then just have the power level to go through the dungeon. And most areas in the dungeon, you can get experience from the guy running the power leveling through there. At least until you can, you don't need to run through and follow it until you are able to get the quests in there. But just sit out there towards the entrance, and you can probably get about 75 to 80% of the experience just standing right there at the doorway. And
that's a good time to bring up that point. What I do on a lot of these, especially if they've got mechanics and things within the dungeons that make lower level characters get killed easily, a lot of times I'll leave them at the entrance, unless it's at the run where you're doing the quests. On each one of these, you're going to have one run where you do all the quests that are available within the dungeon. That's the only time that they really have to run along to loot the things or to be there for whatever event or so forth. But other than that, it's just so much faster. And even if you're not getting the experience for all the mob kills, the fact that the power leveler doesn't have to worry about babysitting the lobies and keeping them from getting killed by leaving them at the entrance, it pays off in the speed that you can run through. Then after Razorfin Downs is Sunken Temple from 45 to 57. So you're there for a long time. You're there for 12 levels. I like that dungeon because you're not really running around through any crazy areas or anything that's where you don't get turned around or anything. It's even if you've never been there before, you'll find your way around really easily.
The one big thing is right at the entrance when you first come in is there's occasionally a higher level mob right there that will aggro you, that elite rare mob. So bring your alts in.
Oh, on the outside.
On the outside of the dungeon.
Yeah.
Don't leave your character sitting on the outside.
You sound like that you learned that the hard way.
Oh, I always have to learn everything the hard way.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, that brings us to level 57 to 91. This is where it gets easy. And once you make it to 57, you can give a good sigh of relief because it's going to be fun from this point because you'll be getting levels faster than you imagined you could because these are the ones that aren't nerfed. So you're going to start at 57 with Hellfire Ramparts, a very fast dungeon to run through. You're going to be there from level 57 to 62, which I think is 2 runs.
I think it is 2 runs.
So the first run that you go through, you're 57, so you can't get the quests. So you do one without the quests, and you ding 60, I think. And you do the quests in the second run, and I think you ding 62. And then from there you go over to Manitombs. Manitombs is not... It's not a great dungeon to go through. It's at the right level and in the right location to be the one to use next. It's not optimal in a lot of other ways. So the way I do that one is at 62, I go in there and I make 1 run, which gets you to 63. And then you go next door to Sethic Halls, and because that one you can't run till you're 63. And you do that one run. And then you go back to Manitombs, And now you're 64, so you can do the quests in Manitombs. So you do your second run of Manitombs then, and then you're done with Manitombs. And then you finish up Celsa Calls. You stay in there until you're level 68. That doesn't take very long. And then it's time to move to Wrath of the Lich King. You move over to Utgard Keep, and you do that from 68 to 71.
And one quick thing to touch on that Utgard Keep is when you're killing the final boss, do not kill it too quickly. Otherwise, the quick escape out goes away, and you have to run out the whole dungeon. And that's only exacerbated if you're on the run where you're doing the loot for the quest, and you leave the loot on the mob, and you have to run all the way back. We did this.
Yeah. Yes, we did. And we didn't realize what had happened, but my mage had killed the mob too quickly. So you kill him initially, the final boss, and he gets rezzed. And it's when he gets rezzed and he comes back, you want to let him smack you a couple of times. Give it 2-3 seconds, and then kill him. And then the gate will open up that lets you go out to take the shortcut back. That's something that we learned the hard way, so you don't have to.
Right. And we learned it even harder because, like I said, we left the final turn in on the boss and had to run all the way back in and all the way back out.
Right. So the next one after that is Draktherin Keep. Draktherin Keep, you run through that one. You only have to do that one a couple of times. That one has a couple of tricky spots in it as well. At the entrance, occasionally you will get these little spiders that will spawn on your lobies, and so you want to be aware of that. They just pop out of nowhere and end up on top of you, and they're low hit point mobs, but you don't want to leave your lobies unattended while you're running through and have them die. And the other thing is your boss in there, the second boss. Has an event. What's the name of that boss?
I do not remember.
I don't remember, but it's you're in a room that spawns mobs over and over and over again. It's a second boss, and what I recommend, you should either have your characters all the way at the entrance, or if they're on the quest run, have them actually log out while you're doing that event. Because if you're doing like what I suggested and having 3 recruiter friend accounts attached, that's a lot of lobies to keep alive during that process. And they'll get killed a lot of times. If you can do it, if you can keep them alive, that's great. But it didn't seem like it was worth the risk to me. So I just logged them out and logged them back in when I got to that point. It's for only one of the runs, so it's not a big deal. And then that brings us to Halls of Stone. Halls of Stone is another one that I don't really care for, and it's because we got our old buddy Braun in there, the dwarf that never, ever, ever stops talking or taking credit for everything.
It's kind of like that last mob in Draktherin Keep. Oh, my God.
Yeah. For the quest. That when you're doing the quest in there, the event, one of the later events in there that you have to do takes a long time. So I like getting out of there as quickly as possible. So at level 75, you're there from 74 to 75. I don't know if I mentioned Draktherin Keep was 71 to 74. And then after you leave Halls of Stone, you go to Halls of Lightning right next door, which I do enjoy that one, and that's 75 to 80. After you're done with Halls of Lightning, you need to go to Stone Core. But on Stone Core, getting there is the first tricky part that you have to do. So you need to use the summoning stone, or have a warlock summon them, because you can't get there through the normal means until you're 82. Now you can enter at 80, but you can't do the entry quest and all of that to get there the normal way through the quest in the home city until 82. So you do Stone Core. While you're doing Stone Core, and little piece of advice, I run these, and you get in the habit of not looting anything because you're going full speed, killing the mobs and working your way through. The second boss, make sure you loot the second boss if you don't have the mount that drops from him. I know Mac doesn't have that one yet. It's hasn't dropped for him yet. I have had it rot once. I already had it, and I was doing a power leveling run on an RAF account that I was doing, and I had it drop and rot, and it was unfortunate that I wasn't grouped with anybody else that could loot it. But after you're done there, next stop after that is Halls of Origination. Halls of Origination is your final stop, and the way you want to do that is you go from 85 to 89 there. And you want to watch your experience and keep track of how much experience you're getting, and you want to get your main character, your one that referred the other accounts. You want to get that one to 89.9. You want to get it as close to 90 without hitting 90 as possible, and you want to hit 90 on at least one of your recruited friends' accounts first. And the reason why is you want to get him to 90, and you want to grant one level so that he goes from being 89.9 to 90.9. You gain an extra level this way, just a little trick. And then after that, your first kill or your first quest that you turn in or what have you makes you hit 91. So that's kind of, like I said, the final kind of hint on that, and that gets us through. Do you have anything to add on that, Matt?
Just once you have a number of tunes up that level, the gold making becomes much easier. Having a bunch of lower level alts is not going to make you as much gold as having a lot of higher level alts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I think that's going to about do it for us. I appreciate Matt here helping me again, and us putting together this show. We're going to keep trying to bring you lots of information. Isn't that right, Mac?
Well, we're going to attempt it. I'm going to keep.
We're going to do our best. I made a mistake on our last outro that I did. I mentioned Stitcher. Still waiting on approval from Stitcher, so we're not available on that. But we are on iTunes, and you can also visit us on our website at goblingoldcast.com and listen to us directly on there. You guys take care and go make some gold.
Skip to step 3. Profit.